Hello and welcome back to the Wholehearted Living podcast. I'm Deb Thorpe and it is great to have you here. So this is the final episode of series 2 and today we have reached the final stage of the Wholehearted technique, which is stage 8, future vision and becoming. This is how you're living from your wholeness. This is where everything we've building so far comes together. All the radical honesty, the understanding of your trauma responses, the compassion, the boundaries, the learning to navigate your inner landscape, the choosing yourself, the authenticity, it all leads here to this moment where you ask yourself, who am I becoming? And how do I live from that vision even before it feels real? Because here's what I know after walking this path myself and guiding so many others through it. Transformation isn't about fixing what's broken, it's about becoming who you've always been beneath the survival patterns. And that becoming, it requires vision. Not just any vision, not a vision born from your wounds or your not enough story or from proving yourself. A vision born from your wholeness. A vision of who you are when you're not in survival mode, when you're not performing, when you're not hiding. A vision of your fullest, most alive, most authentic self. And then you have to live from that vision, even when it doesn't feel real yet, even when it feels uncomfortable, even when your brain says, who do you think you are? You have to step into that future you before it feels true, because that's how becoming works. In the last episode, we talked about dropping the mask and what it is to show up authentically, about the difference between masking and becoming, about stepping into the future version of yourself even when it feels unfamiliar. And today we're going to talk about how to create that future vision and live from it. How to vision from wholeness and not from wounding. How to embody the future self before it feels uncomfortable. And how to choose your becoming consciously and intentionally. And how to live wholeheartedly, not as a destination, but as a practice. This is the culmination of everything we've been working towards. So let's take a deep breath, ground yourself, and let's begin. Let's start with a question. Do you have a vision for your life? Not goals, not a to-do list, not a 5-year plan, a vision. A felt sense of who you're becoming, what your life looks like when you're living from wholeness, what it feels like to be fully, authentically alive. Most people don't. Most people are living either reactively, so they're responding to what's directly in front of them, putting out fires just to get through the day. They're surviving, they're not visioning, or they're repeating past patterns. So you can basically take your previous year, put it onto this one, and you're repeating the same. Because here's what happens when you don't have a vision. You default to your conditioning. You repeat your patterns, you stay stuck in survival mode, because without a vision, you've kind of got no compass, no North Star, no sense of where you're going. You're just reacting, repeating, surviving. Here's why vision is so critical. Your brain needs a destination. Your brain is wired to move towards something. If you don't give it a vision, it will default to the familiar, even if the familiar is killing you. The vision creates possibility. When you have a clear vision of who you're becoming, your brain starts to see opportunities you couldn't see before. Doors open, synchronicities happen, things align. Vision gives you courage. When you know where you're going, when you can feel the future version of yourself, you have the courage to make hard choices, to set boundaries, to walk away from what's not aligned. Vision is the antidote to survival. Survival's reactive, vision is generative. Survival keeps you stuck in the past, whereas the vision pulls you towards the future. The vision is how you break free from survival patterns and step into your fullness. But here's the problem. Most people's visions fail. They set goals, they make vision boards, they write down what they want, and nothing changes. Why? because most visions are created from the wounding, the survival, not from wholeness. Let me explain. A vision created from wounding looks like this. I'll be happy when I'm successful. I'll feel worthy when I achieve this goal. I'll be enough when I have this title, this income, this recognition. I'll prove them wrong when I make it. This vision is driven by proving yourself, filling the not enough hole, earning worth, escaping pain. And here's the problem, even if you achieve it, you won't feel fulfilled, because the vision was born from a wound, and wounds can never be healed by achievement. You'll reach the goal and think, okay, now what? I still don't feel enough. So you set another goal and another and another, and you stay on the hamster wheel chasing a feeling of enoughness that never comes, because you're trying to heal a wound with external validation, and it doesn't work. A vision created from wholeness looks like this. I want to feel alive. I want to create from overflow, not depletion. I want to live authentically without performing. I want to experience freedom and connection and joy. I want to embody my fullness. This vision is driven by desire, not desperation, alignment, not proving, expansion, not fixing, wholeness, not worthiness. And here's the difference. When you achieve a vision born from wholeness, you feel fulfilled, because the vision wasn't about proving yourself, it was about becoming yourself. It wasn't about earning worth, it was about embodying wholeness. And wholeness doesn't need external validation, it's already complete. So before you create a vision, you need to ask yourself, is this vision coming from my wound or from my wholeness? Ask yourself, am I trying to prove something? Am I trying to fill a not enough hole within me? Am I trying to earn worth? Am I running away from pain? If yes, your vision is coming from wounding. Or ask, does this vision feel expansive? Does it align with who I am beneath the survival patterns? Does it call me toward aliveness, not away from pain? Does it feel like becoming, not proving? If yes, your vision is coming from wholeness. This is why stage 8 comes after all the other stages. You can't create a vision from wholeness until you've done the work of getting radically honest, which is stage 1, understanding your trauma responses, stage 2, cultivating compassion, stage 3, setting boundaries and reclaiming your energy, stage 4, mapping your inner landscape, stage 5, choosing yourself, stage 6, living authentically, stage 7. You have to do the foundational work first, because if you skip to visioning without doing the inner work, you'll just create another vision from your wounds and you'll stay stuck. But when you vision from wholeness, everything changes. So how do you actually create a vision from wholeness? Well, let me walk you through the process. Step 1, you get grounded in your body. You cannot vision from your head, okay? You have to vision from your body, because your body knows what wholeness feels like. Your body remembers aliveness. So before you start visioning, get grounded. Close your eyes, take a few deep breaths, feel your feet on the ground, feel your sit bones in the chair, feel the weight of your body. Bring awareness into your body. Drop out of your head, drop into your heart, your belly, into your bones. This is where your vision lives, not in your mind, in your body. Make sure that you've got your Rooted in Wholeness free guide that accompanies this series that's got a whole section on grounding practices, so you can choose which ones work for you. Step 2, connect with a moment when you felt whole. Think back to a moment, even if it's just a fleeting moment, when you felt that wholeness. It's not happy, it's not successful, it's not accomplished, it's whole. Maybe it was a moment in nature when you felt completely at peace and connected to something greater than yourself. A moment with someone you love when you felt fully seen. A moment of creative flow when you just kind of forgot yourself. A moment of stillness when everything just felt right, peaceful. Find that moment and drop into it. What did it feel like in your body? Where did you feel it? Your chest, your belly, your whole body? What was the quality of that feeling? Was it expansive, light, grounded, alive? This is your wholeness. This is what you're this is what you're visioning towards. Step 3, ask, who am I when I am living from this feeling? Now, from that place of wholeness, ask yourself, who am I when I am living from this place? Not what do I have, not what have I achieved, who am I? Let the answers come without editing. Maybe it's I'm calm and I'm grounded. I'm creative and I'm alive. I'm connected to myself and others. I'm free from the need to prove myself. I'm playful and joyful. I'm honest and authentic. I'm powerful and soft at the same time. Write down whatever comes up. Don't judge it and just receive it. And if you don't get anything in the exact moment, trust that your subconscious is working on the answers and they will come. Step 4, ask, what does my life look like when I'm living from wholeness? Now we're stepping into expanding the vision, right? What does my life look like when I am living from my wholeness? Again, we're not focused on the conscious mind's thoughts here. We're feeling it. We're letting the images, sensations, and knowing arise from the body. Where am I living? Who am I surrounded by? What am I creating? How am I spending my time? What does my daily rhythm look like? How do I feel in my body? What's my relationship with work, with rest, with play? Let the vision come through you, not from you. You're not making this up. You're remembering. You're remembering who you are beneath the survival patterns, beneath the conditioning, beneath the masks. This is your wholeness, and it's been waiting for you. Step 5, feel it in your body. This is one of the most important steps. You have to feel the vision in your body, not just see it in your mind or think it. Feel it, embody it. What does it feel like to be that version of you? What does it feel like to live that life? Drop into the felt sense of it. Feel the freedom, the aliveness, the peace, the joy, the groundedness. Let your body remember what wholeness feels like. Because this felt sense is your compass. This is what you're moving towards. Step 6, name your vision. Now distill that vision into a simple statement, a North Star. Not a goal, not a to-do list, a felt sense of who you're becoming. For example, I'm living a life of freedom, creativity, and deep connection. I'm embodying wholeness and creating from overflow. I'm fully alive, authentic, and I'm at home in myself. I'm grounded and powerful and soft all at the same time. What's your vision? Write it down, say it out loud, feel it in your body. This is your North Star. Let me be clear here, vision is not the same as goals. Goals are external. I want to make X amount of money. I want to have X amount of clients. I want to live in a certain place. Vision is internal. It's about your feelings, what you want to be creating. I want to feel alive. I want to create from overflow. I want to live authentically. Goals are milestones. Vision is a way of being. And here's the key. When you live from your vision, the goals become byproducts. When you embody wholeness, the external life you desire naturally unfolds. But if you chase the goals without the vision, you'll achieve them and still feel empty. So start with the vision, the goals will follow. To all of the driven high achievers out there, I really want you to hear this. It's not about never setting goals, never aiming for anything external. That's not what we're saying here. What we're saying is there are 2 ways of doing life. You can be solely focused on the achievement of the goals and still get them and feel unfulfilled. Or you can do the inner work of visioning first, which means that when you achieve those goals, you get the fulfillment and everything else. The goals become the icing on the cake, not the cake itself. Okay. So you have your vision. You know who you're becoming. You can feel it in your body. Now what? This is where the rubber hits the road, right? You have to live from that vision, even when it doesn't feel real yet. what living from your future self actually means, right? You make decisions as if you're already her. You don't wait until you feel confident to speak with authority. You speak with authority now. You don't wait until you feel worthy to set boundaries. You set boundaries now. You don't wait until you have the external life to embody the internal state. You embody it now. You become her. You become your future vision before it feels true. And this is hard because, firstly, it feels like you're faking it. When you step into the future version of yourself before it feels natural, your brain says, this isn't me, I'm just pretending, it doesn't feel true. But you're not pretending, you're becoming. Check back to last episode as to why and how this works. Secondly, it feels uncomfortable. Right, the future version of you does things the current version of you doesn't do. You know, that future you sets boundaries, speaks their truth, takes up space, says no, asks for what they need. And that feels unfamiliar, uncomfortable and scary. Thirdly, your nervous system resists. Your nervous system is wired for the familiar. Even if the familiar is miserable, it feels safe. So when you start living from your future self, your nervous system freaks out. It says, this is dangerous, just go back to what you know. And you have to override that. So how do you actually live from your future self? Here's the practice. Firstly, start every day by connecting with your future self. Every morning before you do anything else, close your eyes, take a few deep breaths, drop into your body and ask, who is my future self? What does that version of me look like? Feel them in your body. Feel the confidence, groundedness, aliveness and freedom. Embody that future you for a few moments. Let your nervous system remember, this is who I'm becoming. The best part about this is that your nervous system doesn't know the difference between an envisioned imagination vision or the actual physical reality in front of you. Okay, it's why we can trigger stress and anxiety and worry so often, because we can imagine a scenario and it feels true in the body. So this is great news for this embodying of the vision. You already do this on some level in your life. We're just directing it in a way that moves us towards the vision that we want to create for ourselves and our life. We're using this mechanism in the brain to vision what we want to happen. Okay, the key is embodying it, allowing it to land in your body. This is neuroplasticity. This works. It doesn't need to be a long, complicated process. I literally spend a few minutes as I'm waking up in a morning, just connecting with my future vision, connecting with my wholeness, and allowing myself to feel it in my body. Secondly, ask, what would my future self do? Throughout the day, when you're faced with a decision, ask, what would my future self do? Not what's easiest, not what will make people comfortable, not what's my usual response in this. What would the version of me who's living from wholeness do? For example, your future self sets the boundary even though it's uncomfortable. Your future self says no even though you're afraid of disappointing people. Your future self speaks their truth even though it's vulnerable. Your future self takes aligned action even though it's scary. And then you do that thing. Even if it doesn't feel natural yet, even if it feels like you're pretending, even if your nervous system is screaming at you, you do it anyway. Because that's how you become the future you. Thirdly, notice when you're living from your past self. Pay attention to when you default to old patterns. When you say yes when you mean no, when you perform instead of being real, when you shrink instead of taking up space, when you people please instead of honouring yourself. Notice it and gently redirect. That was my past self. My future self would do this differently, and then choose again. You don't have to be perfect, that's not what we're aiming for here. You just have to keep making conscious choices. Fourthly, celebrate the small wins. Every time you choose from your future self, every time you set the boundaries, speak your truth, take the aligned action, celebrate it. Don't wait until you've arrived. Don't wait until it feels natural. Celebrate the choosing, because that's how you rewire your nervous system. That's how you teach your brain, this is safe. This is who I'm becoming. Fifthly, give yourself permission for it to feel uncomfortable. This is important because a lot of people get stuck in this space because they equate the discomfort with it not being meant for them. All change in the beginning is uncomfortable. When you're living from your future self, you're doing things you've never done before. You're being someone you've never been before, so of course it feels uncomfortable. That doesn't mean you're doing it wrong. It doesn't mean it's not authentic. It means you're growing. So give yourself permission. Permission for it to feel strange, for it to feel unfamiliar, for your brain to say, this isn't me. Permission to do it anyway, because discomfort is not evidence of inauthenticity, it's evidence of growth. Here's the bit that no one tells you about transformation, right? There's a gap. There's a gap between who you are now and who you're becoming. And in that gap, you can feel like a fraud. You're not the old version of yourself anymore, but you're not fully the new version either. You're in this in-between space, and it's uncomfortable, disorientating, vulnerable. But this gap is where the transformation happens. It's where you're shedding the old identity and stepping into a new one. It's where you're letting go of survival patterns and embodying wholeness. That gap is sacred. There's no work around of it. The only way through is to keep walking forward, is to keep choosing your future self, to keep making decisions from wholeness, to keep embodying the vision. Even when it feels like you're faking it, even when it feels uncomfortable, even when you're not sure it's working, keep going. Because on the other side of the gap, you become that future you. You know, there's been many times where I've had to live from this future self before it felt real. You know, I spoke about Italy in the last episode, and when I started visioning my life in Italy, when I first felt that pull, it didn't make any logical sense. I didn't speak Italian, I don't have any family in Italy, I had no job lined up, you know, there was no visa that I qualified for at the time. My brain kept on saying, like, how is this actually going to happen? Like, who do you think you are? Like, this is physically not possible. But I could feel the future version of me. I could feel what it would be like to wake up in Italy, to speak Italian, to be integrated in the culture, to live this life that felt so aligned, so true, so whole. I could feel it. And I knew I have to become her, even though it doesn't feel real yet. I would take my morning dog walk, and as I was walking through the streets of Torquay in the UK, I would imagine the feeling of walking through the cobbled streets in Italy. Imagine what it would be like to feel the warm sun on my skin, to have the smell of fresh coffee and croissants in the morning, to imagine looking around and seeing the lake and the mountains of Lake Como. I was embodying that vision, even though my physical reality at the time was nothing like it. So as well as embodying it and envisioning it, you start making decisions as if you are already that future version. So for me, I started learning Italian, even though it feels the most unfamiliar thing I've ever done. I started researching visas, housing, logistics, even though I had no idea if it would work out. I started talking to people about moving to Italy, even though, like, I didn't know how it was all going to work. I started living the vision before it felt real. And you know what happened? Doors opened. The visa that they said would never get released got released, and I got it. There were so many incredible synchronicities that happened. Things aligned. Not because I'd had it all figured out, not because I was confident or perfect, but because I was living from my future self. I was making decisions from the vision, not from my fear. I was embodying the woman who lives in Italy, even when I was still in England. I became her before it felt true. And now I'm here, living in Italy, speaking basic Italian, somewhat integrated into the culture, and now it's real, right? It's my lived reality. Not because I waited until I felt ready, but because I stepped into her before I felt ready. That's how becoming works. You don't wait until you feel like the future version of yourself. You become that future version, and then you feel like that future you. So we've talked about creating a vision from wholeness. We've talked about living from your future self. Now let's talk a little bit about what it means to actually live wholeheartedly. Because wholehearted living is not a destination, right? It's a practice. You don't arrive at wholeness and then you're done. It's a practice every day in every moment. Wholehearted living means you're honest about what's true for you. You don't lie to yourself, you don't perform, you don't hide. You tell the truth to yourself first and then to others. You also honour all of your parts. You don't exile the parts of yourself that feel unacceptable. You welcome them home. The angry part, the tired part, the wounded part, the joyful part, all of you is welcome. You also set boundaries from love, not fear. You say no when you mean no. You protect your energy. You honour your limits. Not because you're selfish, but because you know what's best for you is best for everyone. You also choose yourself again and again, even when it's hard, even when people don't understand, even when it costs you something, you choose yourself. You also show up authentically. You drop the mask. You let people see the real you. You stop performing. You show up as you, fully unfiltered without apology. You live from your vision. You make decisions from your future self, not from your past patterns. You embody wholeness even before it feels fully real. You live from the vision, not from the wound. So how do you actually practice this every day? Because we're not here to strive for perfection, right? We're here to live from wholeness, from our humanness. So in the morning, connect with your body. Before you do anything else, just drop into your body. Feel your breath, feel your heartbeat, feel your aliveness. Ground yourself in the present moment. And then connect with your future self. Close your eyes, feel the future version of you, the one who's already living from wholeness. What does that future you feel like? How do they move through the world? Just embody that state for a few minutes. Then set an intention. Ask yourself, how do I want to show up today? Not what do I need to do? How do I want to be? Choose your state, choose your energy, choose your wholeness. And as you go throughout the day, just check in with yourself periodically. Pause and ask yourself, what do I actually feel right now? What do I actually need right now? Am I living from my future self or my past patterns? Just stay connected to yourself. And choose from your wholeness. So every time you have a decision to make, ask, what would my future self do? What choice is aligned with my wholeness? And then do that thing. You'll naturally begin to notice when you default to survival. You'll catch yourself in those moments when those survival patterns have come back up. And you can just acknowledge that, right? And go, oh, okay, yeah, the people pleasing has come back in. Okay, I see that. I'll choose differently. And then in the evening before you go to bed, or just as you're getting ready for bed, you can ask yourself, where did I live from my wholeness today? Were there times when I defaulted to my survival patterns, to my old self? What do I want to choose differently tomorrow? There's no judgment here, just awareness. And within that process, make sure you celebrate yourself. You celebrate your wins. You acknowledge every moment you chose wholeness, every boundary you set, every truth you spoke. Every time you showed up authentically, celebrate the practice and then rest. Let your body integrate, let your nervous system settle. Rest is part of the practice. Now, here's something really important to understand, that this work is not linear, right? It's a spiral. You don't move through the 8 stages once and then you're done. You spiral through them again and again. You get radically honest, and then you discover a new layer of lies you've been telling yourself. You understand your trauma responses, and then you notice a new pattern you hadn't seen before. You set boundaries, and then you realise there's another area where you've been giving your energy away. This is not failure. This is life. This is living wholeheartedly. You're not going backwards. You're not failing. You're spiraling deeper. Each time you move through the stages, you go deeper, you integrate more, you become more whole. And here's the last thing I want to say about the practice. You do not have to do this perfectly. You're going to default to survival patterns sometimes. You're going to wear the mask sometimes. You're going to forget your vision sometimes, and that's okay. Wholehearted living is not about perfection. It's about this practice, this evolving practice. It's about noticing when you've defaulted to survival and choosing again. It's about catching yourself in the mask and gently taking it off. It's about losing connection with your vision and coming back to it. The practice is in the returning, not in never leaving. It's about returning to it. So give yourself permission to be imperfect, to be human, to be in process, because you are, we all are, and that's wholehearted living. Now, let me tell you what becomes possible when you live from wholeness, because we've been touching on this throughout this whole series, but it's really important that we have this to hold on to when it feels hard. Firstly, you feel alive. This is big, right? When you live from your wholeness, when you're honest, boundaried, authentic and aligned, you feel alive. Not just happy, not just successful, alive. You feel the full spectrum of your emotions. You feel connected to yourself and others. You feel present in your body. You remember what it feels like to be fully, authentically alive. And once you feel that, you can't ever go back. Secondly, you create from overflow, not from depletion. So when you're living from wholeness, you're not hustling to prove your worth anymore. You don't feel like you're living with this timer and this pressure. You're creating from enoughness, from overflow, from aliveness, from alignment. And what you create from that place is different. It's more authentic, more magnetic, more sustainable, because it's coming from your wholeness, not from your wounding. Thirdly, you attract your real people. When you live authentically, you drop the mask and show up as your real self. And so the people who were only connected to the performance fall away and your real people show up. The people who see all of you, and say, yes, like, this is great, we love you. The people who don't need you to be perfect, who don't need you to perform. The people who love you for who you actually are. And that kind of connection is everything. Fourthly, you stop feeling like a fraud. When you're living from wholeness, the internal and the external match. Who you are in private matches who you are in public, and so you stop feeling like a fraud because you're not hiding anymore, you're not pretending, you're not performing, you're just being you. And there's an integrity in that, a settledness, a sense of peace, like, this is me and that's enough. Fifthly, you model what's possible. When you live wholeheartedly, when you choose yourself, when you set boundaries, live authentically and embody your vision, you show everyone around you what's possible. Your children see a parent who's real, not perfect. Your team sees a leader who's human, not a performance. Your community sees someone who's brave enough to live from wholeness, and you give them permission to do the same. That's the ripple effect. You don't just transform your own life, you transform the lives of everyone around you. And of course you come home to yourself, right? This is what it all comes down to. When you live from wholeness, you feel at home in yourself. You're not constantly monitoring, you're not constantly editing. You're not constantly wondering if you're doing it right. You're just being you. And there is an incredibly deep peace in that. A settledness, a sense of I'm home. Not home in a place, home in yourself. And once you feel that, everything changes. You can't unknow what you know, right? There's no going back from here. So here we are, we've reached the end of the 8-stage wholehearted technique. We've moved from survival to wholeness, from hiding to authenticity, from past patterns to future self. and now you have a choice. You can go back to the way things were, you can put the mask back on, you can return to the familiar patterns, you can stay in survival mode, albeit that's harder now you know there's an alternative, or you can choose wholeness. You can choose to live from your vision, you can choose to embody your future self, you can choose to practice wholehearted living every day in every moment, right from where you are. The choice is yours. But here's what I want you to know. You know, you can't unknow what you know. You can't unsee the masks, you can't unfeel the aliveness, you can't unremember what wholeness feels like. Once you've tasted it, you can't go back, not fully, not forever. Something in you has shifted, and now you get to choose what you do with that shift. So here's my invitation to you. Choose wholeness. Choose to live from your vision even when it's uncomfortable. Choose to embody your future self even when it doesn't feel real yet. Choose to practice wholehearted living even when it's hard. Choose yourself again and again. Because here's the truth. You haven't come this far to only come this far. You didn't do all this work, all the radical honesty, the inner landscape mapping, the choosing yourself just to go back to survival mode. You did it to become whole. And now you get to live from that wholeness. Not perfectly, but intentionally. Not as a destination, but as a practice. Every day, every moment, every choice. So what happens after stage 8? Well, we kind of spiral back through, right? We go back to a deeper radical honesty. Maybe we notice some new patterns, set new boundaries, integrate new parts. Maybe you drop some of the masks, you embody new levels of your vision. The work doesn't end, it deepens. And each time you spiral through, you become more whole, more integrated and more alive. This is the practice of wholehearted living. And here's what I also want you to know. You don't have to do this work alone. It can feel hard at times, it's vulnerable, it's disorientating, and you are allowed to have support. To have people who have walked this path, you know, who can be the guides, who can help you hold the vision when you're struggling to feel it, who have a container where you can be real and messy and in process and it's acceptable and it's welcomed and loved. Here's what I want you to take away from this episode. Transformation is not about fixing what's broken. It's about becoming who you've always been beneath the survival patterns. And that becoming requires vision. Not a vision born from your wounds or your kind of thinking logical brain, but a vision born from your wholeness. And then you have to live from that vision, even when it doesn't feel real yet. Even when it's uncomfortable, even when your brain says, like, who do you think you are? You embody that vision of you anyway. Because that's how becoming works. You don't wait until you feel like the future version of yourself. You become that version and then you feel like them. So here's your practice for this week. Create your vision from wholeness. Use the process in this episode. So get grounded in your body. Connect with a moment when you felt whole. Ask, who am I when I'm living from this feeling? And what does my life look like when I'm living from my wholeness? Feel it in your body, name your vision. Then connect with your future self every morning. So before you do anything else, close your eyes, drop into your body and ask, who is my future self? What do they feel like? Just embody that future you for a few minutes. And then make one decision from your future self every day. Throughout the day, when you're faced with a decision, ask, what would my future self do? And then go and do that thing. Then notice when you're living from your past self. Pay attention to when you default to old patterns. Notice it and gently redirect. That was my past self. My future self would do this differently. Don't forget to celebrate the small wins. So every time you choose from your future self, celebrate it, acknowledge it. Let your nervous system know this is safe. This is who I'm becoming. And give yourself permission for the discomfort, right? When it feels uncomfortable, remind yourself, this doesn't mean I'm doing it wrong. This just means I'm growing. So this is the final episode of Series 2, which has been all focused on the earth element and wholeness. Over the last 12 episodes, we've journeyed through the 8-stage wholehearted technique. We've moved from survival to wholeness, and now you have the tools, the practices, the framework. Now you get to live it. Okay. This series, alongside the Rooted in Wholeness guide that you can get for free on our website, is providing you with a map to make real change in your life right now. So, what's next? I'll be taking a short break to integrate, reflect and prepare for series 3, which will be back in the new year. In the meantime, keep practicing, keep coming back, keep re-listening to the episodes, allow that spiral to happen where you deepen the practice. Keep choosing wholeness, keep embodying your vision and stay connected to yourself. And if this work is resonating with you, if you're ready to create a vision from your wholeness and live from your future self, you don't have to do this alone. This is exactly the work we do within the Wholehearted Living Institute. The recalibration mentorship is where we work together one-on-one to help you. This is an incredibly powerful container for you showing up as your full self and for us to go through all of these stages, as well as really help you tune into your vision and live from that place. It's really deep, bespoke, transformational work. It's not coaching, it's not counselling, it's a combination of all of the latest neuroscience, ancient practices, somatic work, nervous system work that creates real change. So if you are seeing there's almost a spark of possibility within you, that even though you've been living a certain way for most of your life and this series has opened up a little spark of possibility that it could be different, I really warmly invite you to step into the recalibration. Let this be the gift of support that you give yourself. I only open up a few spaces for this container every year. So don't delay, okay? Make sure that you go and check out our website at whlinstitute.com, and there's all the details there, as well as I've included some details in the show notes of this episode. And that's not all, okay? In January 2026, there is going to be the first Wholehearted community. If you're craving ongoing support, accountability and community as you practice this wholehearted living, I'm launching Wealthy and Wholehearted on the school platform in January 26. It's a trauma-informed community for high achievers and driven visionaries who want to live from wholeness. There's going to be monthly live calls, community, accountability, support, lots of resources and practices, and founding members are going to get a real special price. So make sure you click the link and get on the early bird list for that. And as we've mentioned in this episode, make sure you've got your Rooted in Wholeness companion. That's really the thing that enables you to take this information, digest it, and put it into practice. Okay. One last thing. If this series has resonated with you, I'd be so grateful if you can subscribe so you don't miss when series 3 drops. Leave a review sharing what's landing for you, as it helps more people find this work. And share this episode and even this series with someone who's ready to live from wholeness. Your support makes all the difference, and I give you such a big heartfelt thank you. Thank you for being here. Thank you for listening. Thank you for choosing wholeness. And now, with all of the tools from this series, you get to live from that wholeness every day, every moment. You get to choose now, not when, not if, today. I invite you to begin your journey today. You will find lots of different resources and programs on our website at whlinstitute.com. I really encourage you to check those out, as I would love to welcome you into a more supportive container. Until next time.